Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Jasmine here with Butters and Cream Skincare Creations. We make more than just butters and creams. I like to do scrubs and other things like that, but butters and creams just kind of covers, I guess, the basis of where I started. So that's why I decided to call this. But this video, we are going to be doing my whipped cocoa butter that you guys see. It's a super simple, I think this has like 4 or 5 ingredients in it. There they go right there. And basically, I mean, you could use this recipe to use like a hard butter, like cocoa butter, and get the same type of whip and put your spin on it. We do have Patreon where I have all my exclusive classes and stuff like that, so make sure to join that. Our first ingredient is cocoa butter. And this is phase A, which we're melting all the ingredients in phase A. Normally, I have like 3 phases, but there you go. You just put it in there. This is BTMS 50. It is a conditioning emulsifier. I like it because it kind of cuts down on greasiness and helps to absorb when there's water or moisture. And then I have my trusty safflower oil. So these are 3 ingredients that are pretty easy to source, and they're very stable and useful, I should say, in formulations. I really like having the wax in there because it gives it a certain texture. This is not one that I would recommend for the face, because I was going to say I like safflower oil because of its non-comedogenic values, but cocoa butter is. And then so we melted them all the way down, and here you see that there's like a couple little pieces in there. And what I'm going to do is, because it's nice and hot, with my spatula, I'm just going to finish mixing everything in. So with any type of body butter, I like to melt them down to make sure that we get any chunks out, so that the butter doesn't turn out to be gritty. A lot of people do use methods that don't require melting. I, however, like to use the melting method because it makes it so that the butter is nice and smooth and I don't have any sort of lumps. It's just perfectly whipped like a frosting. So now everything's melted down. I just set it aside and let it cool. Now it's fluffy here. What I did was I refrigerated it, and then it was ready in about 2 hours, but it was dark at that time. And I wanted to whip it because I couldn't help myself. It was just so nice and ready to be fluffy. And I was just like, okay, I'll just explain it. But basically, you let it sit for several hours. I'd let this one cool in about 2 hours. And butters take several, I always say just give it a safety net. Even if you can whip it after a few hours of freezing or refrigerating, which sometimes I recommend you do either way because it helps it to phase. Sometimes, especially when you're using like mango butter, it doesn't get into this next hard phase unless you do like fridge or like we're freezing it. I don't know why that's the case sometimes, but it helps some people. So yeah, it takes several hours. You got to be patient with body butters, okay? These are the colors I'm using. I'm using Micas, and they don't stain the skin, so there's no worries about that. But I go between a really nice dark chestnut brown. I almost thought it was black, and then I read the thing. And then this is like a nice kind of like bronzish brown type of color. I put it in first with some of the butter. See, there's the texture. It looks kind of like tough, but it's really like super light and creamy. So don't let that fool you. Harder butters do tend to solidify and harden a little bit more. So if you want to, feel free to tweak the oil and add a little bit more, just like a teeny bit at a time. If you want it to be any softer, which I wouldn't really recommend, but it's up to you. You can go ahead and do that. And then so I put some of the color in at the bottom, and you can either put the color in once you take it out during the heat phase. But I also separated it because we're doing 2 different colors that you're going to see, that I'm going to pipe it nice and cute for the jar. So I just put some of the butter into that bowl, and then I'm going to whip it to make it that nice brown color. I ended up having to add a little bit more mica because it was more of a tan color that you see there, and not really as brown as I wanted to. So I did measure out the approximations for how much I added each time, and I do have it in this formula. So what I did was I piped the brown first, so kind of like a real hot cup of cocoa. I piped the brown first, about like a little bit more than midway, and then I used a different kind of tip to give it like that whipped cream type of look. So I hope you guys like this formula. and let me know how it goes. If you want me to do anything, any different ones, I'm always open for suggestions. And make sure you join the Patreon. The Patreon's awesome. I do a lot of these tutorials, full vendors lists and full ingredients list formula. All of that's included. Plus I answer messages, and you guys get exclusive formulas that I don't even release to the public. All right. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.